You guys ready? Round two? Woohoo! This is the really exciting part of your day. You guys have that 2:30 feeling. I can see it all over your faces. I don't have the energy drink, but I'm really passionate about social media. I do not have a marketing degree. I actually learned to be a secretary back in the days when they taught you that stuff in high school. I went to college to be a teacher, didn't like the parents, decided to go back to being a secretary. Here I am. Well, last year I talked a lot about why I started the marketing at my company, and you can see the video. Just Google "You Are What You Tweet." There's me and Darrel from last year. He had to hold my iPad. That's why he said, oh, that's what happened last year. So I want to ask you a question. My question is, how did you, as a company, think that you stand out from everybody else? Why did they pick you instead of the firm down the street?
I think those are two different things. I think standing out and why you're selected are two different things. I think standing out...
Okay, why do you think that you're selected?
I think our company stands out because we're maybe like to have a little more fun than the average geologist engineer. You know, at least that's what the owners like to think. At least,
okay, so maybe I'm asking the wrong question. How about if I asked it this way? When you submit a proposal, what do you think determines whether or not you get the job?
I think that's how.
What are some of the factors? I'm asking you questions. See, I'm going back to my teacher mode. You don't have to call me Mrs. Willard, but I will be calling on you. So, anybody want to raise their hands? Any brave persons?
Your qualifications.
Your qualifications, okay, that could be one thing. Something else? Yes, sir, what's your name?
Ted.
Ted, what else?
Relationship.
Your relationship, you went back to my boomer. That was my number one. That's what I wanted to get you guys to. But yes, relationship is a huge factor. There's other factors. What are they?
Knowledge of the project.
Knowledge of the project.
Price, unfortunately.
Price, thank you very much. We have that problem. You know what? Some people go to the back of the proposal, that's all they look at. They don't read the detail, they don't care what the scope of the work is. They take 25 pages, go to the back and go, don't call us, we'll call you, right? It happens. So in order to overcome that, you have qualifications. You have your personality, that you guys are fun. That makes you stand out. But I think what makes you stand out is also sometimes what helps you get selected, and that determines some of that is relationship. And I really wanted to focus on this because this is what everybody seems to come to me and they say, I don't get Twitter, or what is the point of this? And I think the point of it is building relationships. Of course, I wouldn't be here if I wasn't on Twitter, because I never would have met Darrel. Our paths would never have crossed. I'm just, and I hate that word, but I'm an office manager from a commercial general contractor in Orange County. We would never be in the same circles. I would never have access to learning from him or Ted Nguyen or anybody else. But because of Twitter, you have an opportunity that breaks down other barriers that would be in your way, like geography or time zones or your station in life or your occupation or what have you, right? So what makes you stand out, a lot of times, it is your relationship. And that's like the beginning of sales, right? So only 20% of sales is technique. The other 80% is reputation and character. A lot of that goes back to qualifications, your personality, the relationships that you have. So, you know, the old adage, oh, put the product in their hand, then they'll buy it. That doesn't work for us. Who's the product?
We are.
You are. You're the product. We're selling you. We're like, well, I usually say we're like pimps, because people understand that. It goes down to a level. It's not very professional, but it's true. Like I say, well, I'm always pimping out my boss, because my job, when I decided to take this over, was to promote him. I want people to like Tom Riggins. I want them to fall in love with him. I want them to see his qualifications and his sense of fun and build a relationship with him through me or otherwise, right? Because then they won't maybe go to the very back of the price, right? The very last page. So on social media, you have the ability that you've never had before in a history of time to have an influence. I mean, one person can change anybody's opinion. It's word of mouth times infinity. As much as the reach that you have the ability to change people's opinions. This is all about influence, right? So you influence people in person, you could do the same thing on your social network. So let's think about the rippling effect. Want that image in your mind. So I found this chart, and I'm so lucky to find this. Because this is exactly what I was saying. People obsess over numbers when you start talking about social media. Well, what's the ROI? How many people are you going to be reaching? And, how many people follow you? Da, 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 da. Well, when I had 200 followers when I first started in 2009, nobody really cared. Now that I have 13,000, it's like, wow. Well, that was hard work, man. Listen, as a secretary, somebody asked me about time. As a secretary, do you know how many times I'm waiting for somebody else to do their job? I am always waiting. I did all the checks. You have to sign them. What am I going to do? Just sit there and do nothing? Open up Twitter. Spend 40 seconds, 5 minutes. It's a very low commitment as far as time goes. It's not like, turning on a, solitaire game where you have to finish it till it's over, right? Or, getting into this big giant project, you know that you don't have time for that, but I can open my browser, see if anybody's talked to me, and boom, I can have a conversation, I can learn something, I can read an article, and if I am called away to do something else, I just close it. It's a low risk. It has a high benefit and a low risk. This is what I try to tell everybody. So anyway, people obsess over about having so many people in your path. I have to have all of these followers. But if you don't have a connection with them, then all of your influence stops right there with those people. You don't have the affinity with them. You don't have the strength of relationship. So it doesn't really matter because your word of mouth stops right there with that first circle. But if you have really strong relationships with people, then you're going to be able to actually go beyond that first circle because they're going to have a strong feeling toward you, they're going to believe in you, and they're going to share your material. In the context of Twitter, so I have a relationship with Darrel, right? So people have a relationship with me. They trust me, I trust Darrel, therefore they trust Darrel. Do you understand? It's so when I share his material, they believe it. I was tweeting quotes while he was speaking, I already got responses. Right when I was sitting in this room doing nothing. I mean, listening, but I wasn't like typing. I wasn't working. Okay, so people ask me this a lot. So I made this social relationship pyramid because I don't think that you should have everybody on every network. And I went to a meeting once and the guy goes, oh wow, I'll follow you on Twitter and I can be your friend on Facebook. And I go, no. Twitter's up here where I'll let the 13,000 in. And Facebook's way down here where there's like 500. I don't know you. You're gonna see my no makeup dog pictures. Not happening, right? My friends, they can see my pictures of me and my dog on a Saturday, my hair all whatever. But I just met you. You're not going to see that. So there's an aspect of allowing people to come into your life, and as you test them through their behavior on these other networks, then you can really see if they're a true friend of yours. That's something I felt like needed to be in here because I get asked this question all the time. No, you don't have to be everywhere. Start with one thing. Personally, for us, for this demographic in this room, Twitter's the best. People are on Twitter, they want to talk, they want to learn, they want to brainstorm. I have a whole think tank of people that are behind me. If this was live broadcast like it was last year, they would be tweeting my quotes. I asked them questions, they answered. I never had access like that before. So the culture of Twitter is very much business oriented, professionally oriented, and except for what you see on network TV, like the Justin Bieber stuff, like that's not real life. That's just like a tabloid version of Twitter. Everything that I experience is very intellectual and is actually engaging for your mind. Okay, so you have access to meet people, to learn things that maybe you never would have. And furthermore, you don't know who's behind the account. Like Darrel handles several accounts, right? So when you contact Riggins Construction, you know it's me. But you don't know who I know and whoever. So that's one of the other things is people will say, well, why would I follow you? You're just a general contractor in Orange County. We don't even work down there. I don't want you to be part of my life. You don't know who I know. You don't know. Like, you could be, a civil engineer in Arizona, and I have tons of friends in this industry in Arizona that run social media accounts. That if they asked me, ooh, do you know a civil engineer? And I would say, oh yeah, so-and-so, whatever, I just met him at this conference, whatever. You don't know, because you don't know who's behind the account. So unless they're porn, I wouldn't just limit anybody. That's how you get people. That's why you get people, is if you're open. But you gotta kind of protect yourself too. So that's a little bit of a warning, and just think about that in your mind. So we're living in an age where all these relationships are like social capital, and that's pretty much how it's always been anyway. I mean, back in the days when I worked in roofing, we had a salesman who would come in and he would bring us donuts. Dude, best donuts ever, okay? But he would come and bring us donuts. Why is he bringing us donuts when he sells roofing materials? What does one have to do with the other? Nothing. First of all, you're thinking about their company because it's top of mind, right? And you're thinking about them with just a wonderful sense of how awesome it feels to eat that donut and the feeling in your mouth. I'm on a low-fat diet. Can you tell? Like, donuts, yes! But they come in and they do stuff like that. They take you to lunch because they want you to remember them. They want you to think of them fondly, and they want you to order from them. That's the truth. That's what's always been the truth. Is we've always used our relationships in a sales capacity, because with relationships come a mutual loyalty, and not to sound like an evil mastermind from a Bond movie, but there's kind of an obligation there, isn't there? Because if your best friend is an architect, you're not really going to go hire somebody else, are you? No, because they're your best friend. And you can never eat over at their house again if you didn't hire them. Am I right or am I right? I mean, if you wanted to end a relationship, that would be a good way. And so I found this tweet. I was like, what? It's like you're reading my mind. Relationships are the new currency. Honor them, invest in them, start measuring your ROR, which is return on relationship. It's not about the investment. The investment is the relationship. And when you have relationships with people, you have opportunities. And for a commercial general contractor, our favorite people are real estate brokers and property managers and building owners. And we love them. You know, I talked about it in my last talk where if I have a client who happens to be on Twitter, it's a very small number. But here's the other thing about social media. It's a long game. I've been doing this for Riggins for 5 years. But if they happen to be on there, I'll retweet them. I'll promote their stuff, even if we haven't done work for them in years. So the thing is, we work with people we trust. So that's why those relationships are the most important thing. And you can have valid, actual, real, genuine relationships. They're not imaginary friends. I promise you that. I could stand here for the rest of the time counting to you. I'll give you one example. I just had a surgery for, a lady thing, and I have this group of ladies. They sent me flowers. One of my followers who writes for She does copywriting for the AEC industry. She sent me a card. Another one of my best friends on this planet that I happen to be on Twitter sent me a hydrangea plant. I mean, when does that happen? Those are real people. There's real people behind those computers. And you really can make relationships with them. I promise.
I knew you, I knew your personality before we even talked. You knew my personality before
Right.
we even talked.
And that is
Before you met.
a
Yeah.
perfect segue to my next
We're
slide.
strangers.
It's like we're reading each other's minds. I didn't show you my slides, did I?
No, I didn't
Okay,
have to.
so perfect. So, what did I say? I love my real estate brokers because they are trying to get a tenant in a space, and lots of times those tenants need improvements. So, tenant improvement, Riggins construction, right? So, I found this guy. He happened to be local. He was prolific. I gave him tips. You know, of course, I couldn't hold back. I'm famous for unsolicited advice. And I read his blog, and I started realizing, Q matchmaker from, on the roof, but I started realizing their personalities would be so alike. He would love my boss, and my boss would totally love him. I just got to set up a lunch. And here I am, just the office manager, and I said, that's it, I'm going to take a chance. So I tweeted him out, I said, hey, I think you would really like Tom. Can we take you to lunch? Is that too crazy or what, right? And of course he wanted to. And here's the best part. And I was so nervous because the truth is I'm actually an introvert. I really don't like people. I like my alone time. I don't like a lot of noise. I like my office quiet, and I'm super shy. Like right now, this is like, whatever. But if I had to be at a party and you came and talked to me, I'd be like, Bridget? Can I move my hair in front of my face and hide? But see, we're afraid to meet people because we don't know what to say. But guess what happened? When we sat down at the table, all of the small talk had already been done on Twitter. And it was so easy because it was like we knew each other. Why was it like we knew each other? Because we did. Months and months of conversations, and then we sat down like we were old friends that had known each other for years. And guess what? We've had a couple of referrals. Imagine that. Imagine my surprise when we got a couple of referrals. So the return of investment, the ROI, the elusive pot of gold at the end of the rainbow that everybody is looking for and obsessing over is not a dollar. It is the relationship. And then obviously that can produce an economic aspect. But the relationship is way, way more valuable. So my encouragement to you all is to think not about Twitter as a waste of time or people talking about what they're eating for lunch or following lady whoever. Okay? It's about connecting with people. It's about learning. It's about human ROI. So that is my presentation.